Hey everyone, welcome. This episode is brought to you by our Equip, Empower, Elevate newsletter. Each month in our newsletter, you will find stories, thought provoking questions, and more to empower and inspire you to live life fully. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter, go to our website, becomingfierceentrepreneurs.com. All right, grab your paper and pencil, and I'll be right back. And thank you for tuning in today. Our mission is to equip and empower you to dig in and soar higher, doing the things that you love. So get ready to live life fully. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Living. This is episode 38. And in a few moments, I'm going to be talking to Sarah Bondar. Most of you know me, but for those of you who do not know me, my name is Joy Norman, and I help success-driven women entrepreneurs get past their fear and procrastination, move forward, take action, and build a profitable and sustainable business without wasting time on strategies that just don't work. Even if you've been struggling to grow your business for years and haven't seen much fruit. Also, I am an empowerment and success coach. I'm a speaker, author, and the CEO of the international organization and movement Becoming Fierce Female Entrepreneurs. I'm also the host of this podcast show, Equipping You for Excellence. And this is a show all about informing women entrepreneurs on how to grow their business. We know that growing your business can be hard and it can be overwhelming. So we are just here to support you. Oh, I think she's here. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm so grateful to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I'm loving your background, loving everything. It's so
Thanks.
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I've had it up for like a year and a half now, and I've gotten to this point where I'm like, do I want to change it? Do I want to leave it? I haven't decided yet. So I really like the lights, but part of me wants to go with like a darker wall in the background. So
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. So are you ready to dive in?
I am.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with you briefly tell us who you are, what you do, and who do you serve?
Sure. So I'm Sarah Bondar. I'm from southeastern Wisconsin. I come from a smaller suburb called Waukesha. Not a lot of people know where that is. So it's about 20 minutes west of Milwaukee. I serve mainly women. I am a divine feminine alignment coach. But in that, I own a business called She Can, and we do a little bit of everything. So I do one-on-one coaching with women. I also do group coaching and masterminds and classes. And I also do my favorite part, which is host women's conferences and women's retreats. So I have a conference coming up in April of 2023 in Chicago. And I help other people plan their conferences and make their conferences just their dreams come true in their plans. So that's kind of everything that I do in a nutshell, but there's so much more to it.
Do you do your conferences on Zoom also, or?
I do. So there is a virtual option. So if you can't make it in person, you can always attend via Zoom. There's recordings too. So if you can't see the whole thing, so like our conference in April is about a 3-day conference, but if you have to work or you have to miss part of it because you have an appointment or something like that, there's recordings that will be sent out so that you can access that information later.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to dive in and talk about our topic today. I love the title, From Burnout to Boss Babe, How Self-Love Cultivates the Mindset Needed to Heal Yourself and Grow Your Business.
Yes.
Yes. You know, running your business it's not always easy. The freedom to make your own choices, answering to yourself, and then making all of the important business decisions, and then managing your time as you wish. That all comes at a price. So, Sarah, what does self love mean to you? And then why do you feel it is so important?
Right. So I think to answer that question, I have to give a little bit of my backstory. I wasn't always an entrepreneur. And I still am not 100% working for myself. So I'm in law school. So with that, I have to get a little bit of experience under my belt. So part-time, I do work as a law clerk in a law firm for somebody else. But then full-time, I run my business. Prior to law school, though, I was a 911 dispatcher and a police officer. And I loved my job and I loved the work I did, but I had no boundaries and I had a major people pleaser syndrome. And looking back on it now, I can easily say that that all came from a place of not loving myself. But at the time, I didn't understand that. And I literally worked myself to a point of adrenal exhaustion and adrenal fatigue. Just being the yes woman, like the true definition of a yes woman. Someone needed their shift covered, I worked it. If there was overtime, I worked it. If somebody had a family function, I took on the burden myself so that they didn't have to do it. And looking back on it, I realized that it came from a place of me feeling like everybody else was worth more than I was, if that makes sense. And their time and their energy and their family commitments and things like that were worth more than what I had going on in my life. And it took me hitting pretty much rock bottom to realize that I needed to make a change. And so unfortunately, I lost my job as a 911 dispatcher because of my health stuff that I had going on, because of the adrenal insufficiency, because of some other undiagnosed health concerns that I had. And I had to learn to love myself at probably the worst time in my life. So to me, learning to love myself truly saved myself. And I developed this passion for loving yourself. And I saw that there was such a gap, especially in women. We were raised to be people pleasers, like ever since we're little girls, right? Like you're supposed to, if you hurt someone's feelings, you're supposed to say you're sorry. And even if you truly like don't understand the concept of the exchange and all of that sort of stuff, we are just supposed to do what other people want us to do. I remember when I was a little girl wanting to play with the boy toys and be a tomboy and do all of this sort of stuff. And, you know, that's not what little girls do. We're not supposed to do that sort of thing, right? So just we're constantly told what we should do and shouldn't do. And we kind of turn into this molded image of what society wants us to be, which then affects our self-love and our worthiness. And so as I began to work on my self-love and my worthiness piece, I realized that there was just so much knowledge that needed to be shared with the world and with women. And so when I began my coaching business, it started as just a coaching business for women on boundaries and work-life integration. I don't believe that there is a such thing as work-life balance, because it's not a teeter-totter that you're trying to balance 50-50. There's an integration where you have to blend the two things together and find a mix that works well for you.
Yes.
And so I started working really hard on showing other women how they can learn to love themselves by saying yes to themselves and no to other things that don't serve them anymore. Yeah. And it just kind of developed and spiraled from there. So it started with this work-life integration boundary piece. And then I realized that there was so much more behind that. And it all really developed from a lack of self-love. The more you love yourself, the more opportunity comes to you, the more things develop in your life that are meant for you. And just the more abundance that you're going to have, and the more love you have to give to other people.
Yeah, I love what you said about there is no balance. Yeah, you have to integrate and figure it out. For me, self-loves mean accepting my emotions, for what
Mhm.
they are, and then just putting my physical, my emotional, my mental well-being first. And it's important because when I put my well-being first, it actually motivates me to serve others. And it's like when you're on the plane and they say put the mask on yourself first. To me, it's not being selfish because it really does give you oxygen and the energy and the motivation to help others.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then you're not serving from a place of a burnout. You're actually serving as a boss babe. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And you start to enjoy what you're doing. And yeah, and then others can see it also. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that true, like, you can't, that analogy where you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
So instead of trying to like pour just a tiny bit into you and then pour that all out into the other people and you're empty again, you fill your cup full to the point where it's overflowing, and then that overflow fills everybody else's cup.
Yeah.
It's the truth. And when I was younger, I didn't believe in all that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so stupid. But as you get older and you experience it, like the lows of the lows, you realize that that's really what's needed in your life.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it took me a minute to go like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. I have to, and I call it FLY, FLY. First love yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know it's hard, but luckily, I grew up, my mom was my biggest cheerleader. And so, she always, say, oh, you can do it. You can do anything you put your mind
Mhm.
to. Yeah. And she
Yeah.
supported me. So that was really awesome, to have that
Yeah.
growing up. Yeah.
That's how my mom is too. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
even if it's something she completely does not understand at all, she's like, do it. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it. I don't, and we grew up in a lower income family. My dad was arrested when I was much younger. So my mom raised 6 kids on her own and did the best she could with all of us. So she, we didn't have a lot. It wasn't anything that she could like give us other than give us love. But she still is my number one cheerleader, and she will, give me all the love and support that she possibly can. So
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it leads me right into this next question, which you could maybe already start answering. What impact, yeah, what impact has your own self-love journey made in your life and in your business?
yeah. So I think my own self-love journey obviously is what got the wheels turning for me to even start my business. If I didn't start learning to love myself, I never would have started this business. I never would have realized that there was such a gap, especially for women in this area. But I think as far as the biggest impact is I've seen such a difference, and I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old stepdaughter, and I've seen such a difference in them and their confidence and the way they handle things. Like my poor 15-year-old daughter just went through her first breakup with her very first boyfriend ever. And
Oh,
believe me, the first night there was a whole lot of tears and a whole lot of crying, and and I just held her and supported her and all of that, and I let her take a couple days off of school to just hang out with mom and spend some time with me. But just seeing like the confidence that's there that like when I was younger, I didn't have. Like she's like, oh, he'll be back and he's gonna learn his lesson and all of that. Like I didn't have that when I was her age. Like knowing that that comes from a place of self-love is just so amazing. And seeing the women that I coach just kind of develop that confidence, like come from a place where they're so shy and timid to just being open and honest. One part of some of the retreats I run is what I call an embodiment photo shoot. It's kind of like a boudoir photo shoot, but a little bit different because boudoir photo shoots are often very photoshopped. And these photos are not. They're just kind of lightly touched up, some light editing with like lighting and some small blemishes. But overall, it's 100% you in those photos. And what is life-changing about it is not the photos themselves, but the experience that you get in taking those photos. And so that's why it's an embodiment photo shoot, because you truly embody who you are. And it's typically at the end of my retreats. So it's like a self-love retreat. And then you get to do this photo shoot at the end as a super rewarding, exciting, fun experience. And just watching these women who like come in there and like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. I have no idea if I can do this. And then they walk out and they're like, yeah, you know, like it's so amazing to see this. And then they get their photos and they're telling me before they get the photos, like, I'm not going to share these. These are just for me and my husband, or these are just for me. And then all of a sudden I see them like posted on Facebook, like, look at this, I'm a badass, you know, and I'm like, yes, like that's like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I've cried so many times seeing these women post these photos and just, you know, thanking me for the experience and this sort of thing. Like that, I think, is the most impactful and rewarding piece about it.
Oh my goodness, that's just sounds so awesome. Oh, I know I'd be in tears just to see that transformation. I love it. Your retreats and your events sound like a lot of fun.
Oh yes. Yeah. They're definitely a lot of fun. They're also they are very intimate. You typically come in and there's a little bit of fun. There's a lot of inner work done. There's always some tears shed. You leave with brand new friends that you've never had before, and a bond that's just unforgettable. And my favorite part about it is I always have a little bit of pre-event coaching and post-event coaching that I offer. So depending on the retreat, sometimes it's just a couple meetings beforehand and a couple meetings after. And some of them are even like up to 8 or 12 weeks of coaching prior to the retreat, especially if we're dealing with a lot of like self-love, self-image issues, where you have a lot of like body insecurities, because those problems aren't just fixed in like 1 or 2 sessions. Like some of that stuff is really, really deep.
Yeah.
And so, then I always have a little bit of an accountability check after the retreat. So it's not just like, okay, bye, you're never going to see me again. Like there's more to it. And same with my conferences. I always have an accountability workbook that comes out after the conferences that you would, even if you attend just virtually, you also get that, and you get some check-ins afterwards too. So
yeah, because that's the thing I like too when I do a lot of workshops and trainings. And when I first started doing it, you know, it was just like, bye, like you're saying. But then the ladies was like, well, wait a minute, we want to keep this going. So then I started, you know, various Facebook groups so that we could, keep the conversation going. So yeah, because it's like you said, you establish that bond. And,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
And it's so easy when you're in the environment to do what's being told to you, and then you go home and you just kind of forget. Like you get back into your normal routine and you're like, oh, okay, you know, oh, what was that thing that was said to me? What was that thing I was told to do? Whereas like if you have a check-in 2 weeks after the event, and then 4 weeks after the event, then maybe another month later, it's like, oh, okay, I remember, and I'm gonna keep trying to do it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I've been loving, since I've been on Zoom a lot more and establishing, like I said, the various Facebook groups. It gives us an opportunity to work with women, you know, in various cities and states and out of the country. So I've been enjoying that, because early on I was just doing in-person events, but this has allowed me, you know, coming on Zoom and just like meeting you,
Yeah.
you know, being in a whole different state and we're talking. And then you get to come into the living rooms of all of the people in my audience as well. And so, so I've really been enjoying getting on Zoom. I didn't think I would at first, because I was like, you know, I am an extrovert, and I don't have a problem talking on the camera and, you know, talking to people, but I didn't think I would enjoy Zoom as much as I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And for me, the Zoom concept and this sort of stuff was very scary at first. I prefer being face to face with people. I'm actually a very introverted person, but if I'm gonna have a dialogue with somebody, I would prefer to either be over the phone or in person than like on a camera, where I was like, this is kind of awkward. But I've gotten more and more used to it. The more practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. And COVID definitely forced us to do it, even if we didn't want to do it. So I've definitely grown to appreciate it and enjoy it a little bit more.
Oh, good. That's that's awesome. Yeah, because a lot of the ladies I work with are introverts, and that was one of the biggest things. They was like, "Oh my goodness, I need to make a video." You know, some of the different exercises they had to do. Oh, I need to go live. Yeah, I was like, always think, what's the worst thing can happen?
Yeah.
And they was like, "Oh, I survived." So we know that burnout doesn't just affect your work, it affects your life, your health, and your relationships. So let's talk a little bit about how does a lack of self-love and burnout correlate?
So, as I kind of talked about in my story, a lack of self-love honestly leads to a lack of boundaries, a lack of self-care, which then, of course, leads to burnout. When you don't love yourself, you're more apt to fall into those traps of people pleasing, of doing things you don't want to do just because other people ask you to, of saying yes when you really want to say no, of not taking care of yourself. We were just talking about the healthy habits and all of that sort of stuff. And you don't have to be somebody who goes to the gym 7 days a week and pumps iron and takes protein shakes and all these vitamins and stuff like that. But simple things like maybe replacing a hamburger for lunch with a salad, or, actually eating 3 meals a day instead of gorging on just one, or instead of eating an entire sleeve of Oreos, maybe eat just one serving, or, like little small details like that. Taking a 15-minute walk, or even just parking further away in the parking lot so that you have to walk just a little bit further. All of those sort of things. When you are not in a place where you love yourself, you want it easy and you want it quick.
Yeah.
So you're going to be more apt to just go through the drive-thrus, to get the fast food, to park as close as possible when you go to the store, to take the elevator instead of the stairs. To come home and sit on the couch and just stare at the TV or scroll on your phone for hours endlessly, and to really use those sort of things as coping mechanisms and numbing tools instead of figuring out ways to make yourself feel better. And so for me, that was a big thing. When I was in that place of like not loving myself, I actually call it a place of self-hate, because I really did not like myself at all. I probably was at the point of kind of hating certain parts about myself. I didn't care. Like, I did not care about myself. I didn't care whether or not I showered some days. Yeah. I didn't care if I exercised. I didn't care what I ate, as long as my stomach wasn't growling. Could have been McDonald's. It could have been a salad. It could have been 2 milkshakes and some Oreos. I did not care. And, I finally just got to a point where I was like, something needs to change. Yeah. And I had tried all the diets. I had tried all the things, you try to, because weight obviously was a huge portion of it. When you're not eating well, you're not exercising, you're going to gain a lot of weight. So I gained a lot of weight, and I was like, oh, I tried the pills. I tried Jenny Craig. I tried Weight Watchers. I tried all of these things, and you would lose a little weight and then it would come right back as soon as you stop doing those things. Because the true problem wasn't the diet supplements or the small time fixes. It was inside here that needed to be fixed. It was this and what I thought about myself that needed to be fixed. And so once I started working on my heart and my head and started learning to love myself, those good choices just came naturally. Like when you start to love your body, you want your body to feel good. So you're not going to eat a burger every day. You're going to eat a salad, or you're going to eat what feels good for your body. You're going to want to figure out what's wrong when you're not feeling good. So I started going to the doctor more to figure out what was wrong with me. I got diagnosed with some health stuff, some autoimmune disorders, got on some treatment plans, figured out what diet, diet is in like food works for me, not a diet is in like a short-term weight loss plan. And things just shifted and changed. But when you're not taking care of yourself, that all contributes to complete burnout.
It is a process. You have to see yourself as someone of worth. And it's a process, like you're saying. It takes some time, and you have to prioritize you in your life. Yep.
Yeah.
As you're building your empire, as your career, your goals. And for me, I had to start setting meaningful goals. I'm a big believer in setting goals, but for me, I had to, write them down. I had to get them out of my head because, like you said, you'll just fall back and just start going back into, I don't want to say self-hate, but, just not taking care of yourself. But you have to, put a system in place, and then really work hard on your goals. And I like what you said. You went to a doctor. You seeked out help to get better and to get yourself on track. Because to help with burnout too, you also want to remember. For me, I have to take time out to just sit still.
Yes.
And just listening to you, I actually wanted to just like close my eyes because what you were saying was so soothing to me. And so I have to take time out, Sarah, to just sit still. I have to meditate, and I have to pray, because when you sit still now, you will start to think about your mistakes that you made. But what I want to say is, ladies, don't just think of the mistakes, because we'll tend to do that. Don't just think about the mistakes you made when you're sitting there. Try to learn from the mistakes. And what I say is, they're not failures. They are lessons that propel you forward. And it's like you said, you don't always say yes. You can say no. And one of the things the ladies hear me say a lot on this podcast is, no is a complete sentence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so one of the big things that shifted for me, because I too for a really long time I hated silence. I hated sitting in silence. Because just like you and a lot of other women, we think of all the things that either we should be doing, could be doing, or did do wrong in the past. But I started shifting my mindset to a place of gratitude for those things. So even like now, when I talk about losing my job, like that is for a really long time, that was a very shameful part of my life. Like I've never been fired from a job before. I've never, like that was not a good thing for me. But I look at it now and I have so much gratitude for that happening for me, because I wouldn't have started my business. I probably wouldn't have started taking care of myself. I wouldn't be where I am today. I probably wouldn't have my health diagnoses. I would have just kept spiraling in this same cyclical spiral that I was in. And I have so much gratitude for that experience. And so that's one thing that I do when I sit and I meditate and I catch myself thinking of, the mistakes that we've made, is I try to find something about those mistakes to be grateful for, because it seems to just shift my mindset from thinking of it negatively to a little bit more positively.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, trust me, it works.
Yes, it does.
Yep. I reflect, but don't sit there too long.
Hey, if failure wasn't an option for you, what would be a dream health goal that you would have? Would it be getting up and down off the ground, playing with your grandkids? Would it be chasing your kiddos on a bicycle and keeping up with them? Would it be getting up and down the stairs without huffing and puffing? Would it be, I don't know, wearing shorts in the summertime or a bathing suit, feeling totally confident and energetic and strong in your body and your mind? Yes. Okay. I've seen that. again and again and again with thousands of people the 8 years I've been a health coach. I've been a chiropractor for 34 years and I've never seen anything so effective as this. My husband and I did it 8 years ago and had phenomenal results. And this is not a diet. Don't diet. Diets don't work. I'll tell you what, most people gain the weight back and then some. And what's the point of that? That's just craziness. Try something different. Try something that works. Try something that's clinically proven. And it's easy, it's simple, there's no hunger, there's no extreme exercising. And for most people, it's cost neutral. And some people actually say they save money on the program. You get a free health coach with it, a vibrant community, an amazing transformational habits of health system that's determining how you can live a lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. So I invite you to join me on a health assessment. We can discover which of the programs could be a fit for you. And then you know what? You may reach your goals way faster than you think. And guess what else? You may just exceed them. I look forward to working with you.
Yeah. So why do you think self-love or a lack of it is such a problem for women nowadays? And then what are some action steps women watching this today can take to cultivate self-love?
So I believe that it is such a problem for women nowadays, the lack of self-love, especially because of the way a lot of us are raised. We are conditioned to be people pleasers. We are conditioned to put everyone else before ourselves. A lot of it, I think, comes from the way our parents were, our mothers were. They were the caretakers. They were taking care of the family. And so we saw them doing it themselves. And it was almost deemed to them to be like selfish for them to do stuff for themselves, right? Like if they decided that they wanted time away from the kids, like, oh, the husband's made a big deal about it. And that was just the way life was. And so that was kind of imprinted on us in a time where also women are being encouraged to be independent. So we have these like two conflicting messages, like, oh, be independent, fight for your rights, be strong, be this, be that, but don't be too much, don't be too loud, don't be too independent, don't want too much time away from your kids, don't want to work away from the home. It's very conflicting. And so I think women, we are just naturally the type of people who internalize a lot of this stuff and we take it all on. That's just the way we are. And so we took a lot of this on. And we're kind of like, okay, so we can't be this, but we can't be that. We want to be independent, but we can't be too independent. We want to be able to take care of our families, but not too much to hurt a man's ego. Like it's this fine line we have to tread, but then also try to figure out who we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just this big giant mess. And we're like, just trying to, like, it's like someone's taking our hand. We've got like this drawing that we're trying to color in, and we want to go with the color over here just a little bit, and someone's taking our hand and they're like, no, you got to color it right here, and this is where you have to stay with that color. And we're like, no, but pink looks really pretty in the sky too. And they're like, no, the pink needs to stay in the flowers. Like that's kind of where we are. And so that's why I feel like it is such a problem for women to learn to love themselves, because we're in this constant like inner battle, inner struggle of like figuring out what society wants from us, but then also trying to figure out what we want from ourselves.
Yeah, what we need. And not to mention the last few years have been stressful and just difficult for everyone. So we as women, we are bound to hit a wall or experience some mental burnout or even some depression. We are not meant to do it all, but I think we women have suffered, as you said, from mom guilt, from time to time, being so busy with no time to take care of ourselves because we are such nurturers. It's what has been modeled to us, because I grew up in an environment where if you're taking care of yourself, then you're taking away time for caring for someone else. Because as a child growing up, my grandmother, my aunts, they were running around just taking care of everyone. And then by the end of the day, they sit in the rocking chair just exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm seeing my grandmother sleep in the rocking chair. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, she been there all night. They would be cooking, and then someone calls, you know, they run off and do that, and then they come back, and then they got to go to the church, and it was just so much. And so I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness, why don't she sit down? Why don't she rest? Why don't she take some time out? But you know what? I grew up, fell into the same trap, and was running around like I was Superwoman too. So yep, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So some things that that has helped me and that I share, you know, with others is stop comparing yourself to others. Because now I know this one is a hard one, but you have to see others out there and they're doing more, right? Because I grew up seeing this, they're doing more, but it's like what you just said. You got to be grateful. Stop and just be grateful for where you are now. And then just celebrate your uniqueness. Okay. Yes. God made us all on purpose for a purpose. And there is only one you.
Yeah.
And each of us have unique skills. We got unique abilities and strengths. And you know, I got a flavor that may be different than yours. I might be more like your daughter. No. You know, we have to realize too that we all have weaknesses. But guess what? It is okay. It is okay, because no one is perfect and no one is equipped to do it all. No. And I think that's the way God intended it. That way we have to depend on each other, because no one is perfect. And and then just recognizing that the fact that we're not created to be perfect, that could be very liberating, you know. And just remember, you are enough. You are, I have to say that again, you are enough. You have your own unique purpose here on this earth. And you are worthy of everything that God has for you. We just have to trust the process and enjoy the journey right now. And so I love what you do at your events. That's helping women enjoy the journey. Stop and take a picture, capture a picture of that moment. And so when they're going to go back and look at that. It's like, oh, I did that. So Sarah, why do you choose to work mainly with women?
I think just because, well, there's a couple reasons. So for me, I just feel so called to help women who were just like me, and struggling with that work-life balance or integration balance, struggling with that self-love piece, struggling with all of this, and just trying to bring it all together. I feel like there's not enough resources out there for women. The first few conferences that I went to were all men speakers. And not that I have any issues with that, but I feel like there's such a space in this world for women, women leaders, women business owners, all of that. And it just needs to be developed and cultivated so much more. And so I want to help give women what was given to me. And so that is why I feel so called, I think, to work with mainly women. There are chances in the future for me to possibly bring some men into the circle and things like that. And I don't turn men away. So like something very different that I'm doing at my event in Chicago in April is we have something called the Man Cave. My husband is running it. It is not conference so for any men who are like, I don't want to go to a personal development conference, it is like a lounge for men. But I do know that there are some very supportive significant others out there, husbands, boyfriends, brothers, whatever, that want to come with their woman or their sister or their mom or whoever, and they get stuck sitting in the hotel room the whole time because the girl is off at the conference and the guy's just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. So this year I did something different. We have like kind of a lounge area for the men. There's going to be like video games. There's going to be food. There's going to be some drinks. There will be a couple little like things for the guys to do, like bourbon tasting. There will be a class on like how to test for lead in your pipes, because that's something that like men like to learn, stuff like that. There will be some other like little optional things that guys can do if they want to, but nothing's forced, nothing's super formal. And so that's kind of starting to open the doorway to a little bit of coaching with men. But overall, I just really feel called to work with women. I feel like there's not enough coaches out there for women.
Yeah. Me too. I'm called to serve women, but thank you for your service. And you know, it's so awesome that your husband is being part of it, because yes, I agree, because it'd be awesome for the men to be able to travel, because now you just don't know what's going to happen in the world. So I think there's a safeguard there that they're traveling with them. The only thing I would like to suggest, if you could throw some fishing in there for my husband.
We could definitely throw something like that in there.
Yeah, then I'll be right there. No,
Right.
You will love it.
See what I can do.
Yeah. You know, as women, we often underestimate our own true potential. And I am also blessed to just serve success-driven women. And it's so awesome to help women deal with their unique challenges, and then just watch them transform through fear and doubt and resistance, and then start sharing their voices and confidence and courage. And it's kind of like what you said, they're like, ooh, posing on the pictures and getting on the video and going live. You know, it's just awesome. It's such a blessing to see, you know, it's already in them, right?
Yes.
But to be part of it, Sarah, just seeing their transformation, it's just so amazing. And so I love working with women. And, you know, I love working with women who say yes, and then they just figure it out. Yes, it's so awesome. Sarah, so how did you narrow down for yourself the kind of coaching that you needed?
I think so for me, it wasn't just one type of coaching. And I don't think anybody needs just one type of coaching. I think the type of coaching you need evolves as you evolve. So I started out needing a lot of like self-love coaching. And I started out just reading like books, reading stuff online, watching YouTube, listening to podcasts. And then as that piece started to fill in, I started realizing that, okay, now that I'm starting to love myself more, I really want to explore my dreams and step into that. So where do I go from there? Well, then I needed a little bit of like confidence coaching, because was I really confident enough to do this? So I started looking to like confidence coaching. There's coaches out there for everything. Yeah. So then I started after I got the confidence piece down, then I was like, all right, it's time for a business coach, because I want to start my businesses. And I found a business coach that really jived very well with me. And so I really feel like whatever piece it is that you feel like you're lacking is where you start. And you know what? You may start there and you may go talk to a coach. And if they are a good coach, they're going to tell you, oh, you know what? This is what you need. Or, oh, you know what? I don't think this is what you need. Maybe try this. I have had phone calls with people and I have told them, you know, like, hey, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. I think that this person would be a great fit for you. Here's their phone number. Or I don't know a person in that area, but here's what I would look up if I were you. And there have also been moments where I say, you know what? I don't think coaching is what you need right now. I think therapy is what you need right now. And, you know, I do have a minor in psychology, so there's a little bit more I can do with my coaching, but I can't be a therapist. I'm not a therapist, and I don't cross those lines. And so there are moments where if you're a good coach, you should be able to differentiate that. I don't feel like someone should ever be with the same coach forever. I feel like just like with therapy, you should graduate from your coach, and it should be like a big celebration, like, oh, you outgrew me. Yay. Time to move on to someone else. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I would like to at least keep in contact with that person, hopefully, but like,
you may team up. You never know, because that's what I do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or see them at my events, stuff like that.
We partner,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think that honesty piece is so great. What you're saying is right. We're not called to help everyone. I always say, yep, God only gave me a portion of the universe. He didn't give me everyone. And so, yeah, and I go through a process with women myself. And because I network with other coaches, I'm able to go, okay, yes, no. And then I'm able to refer them. And I think that's awesome, because when you're in the network, that's what we should do, is refer them. And so I love that. So that's really good. We're all just work together. And then that way they don't have to, be running over here and run. We're all in a circle together, and we make it holistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been so awesome talking to you. So how can we contact you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I also have a website. So Instagram, I'm MRS Sarah B. Bondar. Facebook, I'm just Sarah Bondar. And then on my website is actually www.shecancoaching.com. Eventually that will be shifting to a website that is just my name, but for now it is my business name, which is She Can Coaching. So it is shecancoaching.com.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been an awesome time. So what is one thing you would like to leave with people before we wrap?
Oh man, one thing that is tough. I would say that my number one tip for people is that you cannot change anybody else. You cannot force anybody else to change. And so if you are trying to fix a relationship with somebody else, if you are trying to change the dynamic of a relationship with someone else, whether it's a brother, a mother, a grandparent, or a significant other, or even a child, the easiest and best way to do that is to change your relationship with yourself. The minute you start working on your relationship with yourself and that self-love piece within yourself, your relationship with everybody else will change.
So true. Yeah, been there, done that.
I know, right? We try so hard to change everybody else, but the easiest thing we can do is just work on ourselves.
Yes. You point your finger, how many are pointing back at you?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness, that's an awesome tip. Thank you so much. This has just been an awesome time. Thank you for all of the nuggets you dropped on us today.
Thank you so much.
Well, this concludes another episode of Living. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much. I enjoyed you. Looking forward to having you come back on the show. All right. I hope you guys enjoy From Burnout to BossBabe featuring Sarah. And it was so awesome. All right, everyone, have a blessed day. Have a blessed rest of the week. And we will see you back here on another episode of Living. Bye-bye.